With 24 races in Warhammer 3, it can feel like a lot to learn, especially when you're looking at the selection screen, wondering who to play. To keep things simple, I'm here to explain every single race in the game, so you know exactly what you're in for when you pick them for your next campaign. The Beastmen are the true embodiment of relentless assault. They roam the world erecting herdstones and razing the surrounding area to cinders before moving on to do it all again. Their hordes are some of the most powerful armies in the game, with no recruitment or upkeep costs, massive bonuses from various buildings, and an extra helping of sneakiness. If you want to burn the Warhammer world to the ground, they're undoubtedly one of the best choices to do so. In battle, their focus on constant attack continues with a roster that focuses on speed, mass, and attack to flatten enemies before they even have a chance to breathe. Their battles are fast, bloody, and intentionally messy, so if you want to try and tame chaos itself, they're a great choice. Bretonnia are all about doing things properly. Over the course of their campaigns, you'll be worrying about things like performing chivalrous actions, completing various vows, and even making sure you don't overwhelm the working class. Whilst all of this sounds like some kind of socialist utopia, do not be fooled. The Bretonnian campaign is one of funding the upper echelon of their society and reaping the rewards because of it. Speaking of which, if you want these videos without ads, then all you need to do is become a channel member. All the same videos with none of the ads, all for just $1 a month. Find out more at the join button below. Their roster is a mix of weak peasants and devastating knights, and I'll let you guess who will be the breadwinner in this scenario. Their peasants have various tiers of meat shield, but knights can charge or sit in combat and rack up a ton of value in no time. If you don't mind their slightly janky campaign and enjoy micromanaging your entire army, Bretonnia are a good pick for you. The Chaos Dwarves are still the newest race to join the Warhammer 3 family, and they're quite the doozy. Their campaign is fueled by an endless supply of labour to produce as many resources as possible. Their economy has no shortage of options to give you an advantage, whether that's printing gold to keep their armies moving, raw materials to rapidly grow their settlements, or armaments to upgrade their most powerful units. Speaking of which, their roster is one of the deadliest in the game, with staunch front lines, devastating missile units, and some of the most explosive power of any race in the game. This isn't even mentioning their monsters, constructs, and of course goblins. Hey, they may not be the highlights, but they get the job done early on, so deserve the spotlight too. The Chaos Dwarves are one of the most complex races in the game, but if you can master their industrial machine, they are nigh on unstoppable once they get going. The Daemons of Chaos, or just Daniel because it's still just him after all of these years, really are the race that Creative Assembly forgot, or at least they want us to forget. This is of course the only race in the game with a custom legendary lord from name to body parts with the ability to utilise the full combined power of Chaos. And by that I of course mean making use of mid-versions of mechanics from the monogods as well as the full demon roster. Admittedly, the roster part is pretty cool, but just play Warriors of Chaos. Daniel is too janked to be fun outside of a few turns. It's neat building your own lord, but aside from that, he really needs some love, and he'll likely never get it. The Dark Elves are another race that needs some love and also runs on labour, so a bit of a remix of the last two, which is pretty fun. That said, their approach to labour is much simpler than the Chaos Dwarves, with them simply collecting as much as they can to fuel various buildings and dictats. Aside from this, they have a fairly standard campaign with a few rights, and of course their Black Arcs to rule the waves, and any wave adjacent regions. Their roster has a fairly balanced mix of front lines, missiles, cavalry, and even a few monsters, so they really have anything for any occasion. If you enjoy a more tactical version of relentless aggression, then you'll feel right at home here. Overall, they are a little lacking in many up-to-date features, but are a perfectly functional evil as hell race, and who doesn't love that? The non-Chaos Dwarves may not have the complex economy of their tainted cousins, but that doesn't mean they are simple. Their Ages of Reckoning keep them busy clearing various grudges, both minor and major, to appease the population's need for a reckoning. No matter where you are, you'll have lots to keep you busy, with a number of age-old grudges to clear, with the help of powerful grudge-based units. Speaking of which, in battle, the Dwarves are the definition of the immovable object. Their front lines are extremely heavy and give their explosive missile units lots of time to tear enemies to pieces, all without barely having to move. If you're looking for a more defensive playstyle with careful considered expansion, then the Dwarves are a great pick. They're probably the easiest race to play in battle, while still offering lots of options to have some fun. Do the Empire really need explaining? They are the most popular race by far in Warhammer 3, and it's pretty obvious why. They are the most human race in the game, and who doesn't want to roleplay as a regular human in a world full of monsters? Their campaign varies a lot between their legendary lords, but in general, you're looking at protecting traditional Empire values like owning all of your lands, killing vampires, and confederating more than anyone else in the game. Their roster jacks off all the trades with strong units for melee, cavalry, and especially their ranged. Their missile infantry are some of the most powerful options in the game, and their artillery roster is as fun to use as it is varied. You already know who the Empire are, but if you came here looking for it, I give you my permission to play your 50th campaign as Karl Franz. Hyperfixations are perfectly healthy, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. In many ways, Grand Cathay are the Empire of Warhammer 3. They're pretty good at everything but lack the beans to really make them shine. Still, they have a nice selection of mechanics built around harmony to optimise their regions, caravans to do nothing, and of course the Great Bastion to hold back the forces of chaos that can't teleport over it. In battle, their focus on harmony continues with every single unit being assigned either yin or yang, and both receiving powerful bonuses when in the presence of the other. Their lords are of course the main draw with their dragon transformations, but the rest of the roster has strong front lines, excellent crossbows, and even some powerful monsters. If you enjoy maintaining the balance and want something a little different to the regular Empire, then Cathay are a great option. The Greenskins are another race focused on all-out offense. Your entire goal is to gain reputation as quickly as possible, so you can call a war and double your faction's army power, allowing you to stomp pretty much anyone you want. Their entire race relies on this need for constant battle, from their economy to their mechanics, so I hope you are ready for a crapload of fighting. Speaking of which, their roster is of course almost entirely reliant on that same constant attack. You have heavily armoured and heavily hitting infantry, terrifying monsters, and even a range of decent artillery and war machines. Their battle strategy may not be all that varied, but the units you have actually keep things fresh. If you want that mindless assault of the Beastmen with some settlement management thrown in there, the Greenskins are one of the best in the game at doing just that. The High Elves were once in the same boat as Cathay, where they were pretty straightforward and Warhammer 2's version of the Empire, but with their most recent rework, they're still that, but also have some neat mechanics thrown in there. You are mainly worrying about the donut, be that actively inhabiting it and cleansing it of invaders, or simply gobbling up patronages to collect a laundry list of bonuses as the game goes on. Each legendary lord has their spin on things, but at their core, Ulthuan will always be their main concern. Over in battle, they're a strong all-round roster with great melee infantry, strong cav, some decent monsters, and who can forget their ranged units. Sisters of Avalon are of course their main attraction, but the rest of the roster has plenty going for it as well. The High Elves are still a great starter race for one of your first few campaigns, as they're pretty defensive in both campaign and battle, and even with their recent additions, have simple mechanics that set you up to learn the more complex things later on. I could just say skulls for the Skull Throne to explain Khorne, and it would be both accurate and conclusive. However, in the interest of watch time, I'll elaborate. Khorne is of course another race all about relentless attack, and their specific goal in doing so is to collect as many skulls as they can to stack on the Skull Throne for a choice of powerful bonuses. You'll be raising everything in sight, leaving it behind to colonize itself, constantly battling to satiate your army's bloodthirst, and partaking in essentially zero diplomacy. In battle, they're melee focused, with all of their units speccing entirely into attack with very little consideration for defense. This sounds bad, but in reality it just means you end up rolling over enemies in no time with a mix of infantry, cavalry and monsters, both demonic and mortal. They're a great attack focused race that still maintains quite a lot of strategy, as it takes a lot longer to get to the instant win button than the Greenskins. Don't be fooled, they are still extremely powerful, but you earn that power and it feels oh so good when you finally get to use it. Kislev are the most divisive race in the game, like they literally have a two-party political system that divides their entire race in two. Video games are so wacky with their unrealistic scenarios that would never happen. Anywhomst, this sees them having to decide which side to support to reap the benefits, whilst also considering the consequences of a lack of balance. Aside from this, it's all about uniting Kislev under one banner to hold back the forces of chaos, with the Tsar's elite ice magic and the people's pointy sticks. Speaking of which, in combat, Kislev really can do it all. Like almost every single unit in their roster can do okay in both melee and from a range. Does this make for the most engaging army building? Not really. Do any of these units massively excel at either job? Also not really. But, can you have fun with them in battle? Yeah, why not? I go harsh on Kislev because they're really not my cup of tea, but for real, if you like your army to be adaptable and your campaign to be all about maintaining some balance, then they're a genuinely good race with some decent mechanics. The Lizardmen have one of the deepest benches in the game with 7 legendary lords, and many of them have their own unique mechanics to flesh out the campaign. Baseline, things are a little thin, with the Geomantic Web allowing you to empower your regions after like 1,000 turns, and Blessed Spawnings allowing you to make use of powerful units at a slightly unreliable rate. Look, they are a little bit wonky, but at least their tech tree is better these days, so we take what we can get. Over in battle, however, the Lizardmen are one of my personal favourites. Very strong melee units, powerful and varied monsters to attack up close and personal or from a range, depending on exactly what you need. We have monsters that spit fire, tear enemies to pieces, and even call down orbital lasers, so needless to say, they're pretty exciting. If you can get over their lack of campaign mechanics, the Lizardmen are a seriously fun race to build armies for and see them get to work in combat. Their DLC lords are certainly the best, but you can easily have fun without them if you just focus on looking at the pretty lizards. Every time I talk about Norsca since they got their rework, I get this feeling in my chest like a parent watching their child walk down the aisle to get married. They're all grown up and are finally everything they were born to be, and I could not be more proud. Norsca have always been about uniting their icy home under one banner by making use of their tribal confederation before taking all that military power to raise whatever is closest to them. It's still about that, only now it works a lot better and allows them to build a home wherever they go, along with building shrines to the dark gods. In battle, they're still full of monsters and monster hunters, making them experts at taking down much more powerful forces through sheer grit. They're still very offense focused, but it's surprisingly tactical compared to a lot of the other attacking based races. Norsca are honestly a blast that everyone should try, but especially if you like that mix of monsters and monster hunters and want to experience the true meaning of marauding. Nurgle are truly the creeping death of the Warhammer world, and this is embodied in everything from their campaign to battle. On the campaign map, they're the race most focused on spreading their corruption as far and wide as they can, be that in the form of regular Nurgle corruption or their various plagues. These can do everything from causing simple attrition to enemies to empowering your units and settlements with all kinds of stat bonuses. Their cyclical buildings are an acquired taste, but once they get on a roll, you'll have a near endless supply of instantly recruitable units at your fingertips. Speaking of which, their roster is slow moving, but every single unit has poison damage to drag enemies down with them. Battles will be slow as you bit by bit sap your enemy's will to fight with tanky infantry, powerful monsters and lots of magic. Nurgle are a great, slower campaign that takes quite a while to get going, but you are never sat waiting. There is always something to do, whether that is creating plagues, spreading your touch, or otherwise making the lives of your neighbours as hellish as possible. The Ogre Kingdoms are the definition of the nomadic playstyle in Warhammer 3. Sure, they can take settlements, but their real power lies in their ogre camps. These allow them to recruit the full power of their roster and bring various buffs to nearby armies. With this, the power of the Great Maw, and of course plenty of meat, they can roam the world, taking on contracts as they see fit. In combat, they're a very momentum-focused race, with a strong focus on charging with their large number of ogres and monstrous units. Of course, they still have their Noblars to hold the line, along with the odd missile unit here and there, but by and large, you're doing lots of charging. If you want the freedom to roam the map without having to worry too much about real settlements, but still want something more than plain old horde, the ogres strike a really fun middle ground. Their battles may be a little heavy on the micromanagement, but if you can handle that, they're a wrecking ball that is very hard to stop. The Skaven, truly the most devious race in the game, and it's not even particularly close. They're all about sneaking around, making the most of their roaming ambush stance to fight every single battle with a significant advantage. Their settlements appear as ruins, and they can even make use of under-settlements to sap the wealth and power from other factions without them even knowing. Their legendary lords bring all kinds of extra abilities to enhance this sneaky playstyle, but no matter who you pick, you are looking at all kinds of tomfoolery. In combat, they have a relatively balanced roster with powerful units in any category, whether you want to blow enemies to smithereens from half the map away, flatten them with monsters or war machines, or even take them on in some kind of fair fight, the Skaven really can do it all. They are certainly a race that you need to get used to, but once you grasp food and being a total evil bastard, it is impossible not to have a blast with any of their campaigns. Slaanesh are a race all about dismantling their enemies from the inside. Whether we're talking about a full faction seduction of Nakari or simple unit seduction before battles, they will take every opportunity they can to literally turn factions against each other. They're the chaos race most focused on cults and using them to harvest as many devotees as possible for use in their settlements and armies. In battle, they're of course all about speed and charging. Nearly every single unit benefits from high charge bonus, making constant movement a necessity to succeed. They're certainly one of the trickier races to play, but if you can wrap your head around their need for constant movement and the quickly overwhelming number of cults, they can win the game without even having to lift a finger. Like all undead races, the Tomb Kings are feeling a little dusty these days, but that doesn't mean they are bad. Au contraire, they're still pretty damn strong and bring a lot to the table, even if most of it has been picked off by other factions. Their units work on a capacity system, so the strength of their armies is directly related to how developed your settlements are, which is pretty fair since they otherwise pay no upkeep or recruitment costs. Alongside this, you'll be collecting an astonishing number of canopic jars to craft with in the mortuary cult, along with Russian construction to catapult you into the lead. In combat, they have a strong mix of high-tier infantry, some decent ranged power across their infantry, monsters and artillery, But of course the main draw is all about those powerful constructs. You have scorpions, sphinxes, and even a giant walking spellcaster that can shoot lasers from its eyes. Their strategy relies on making the best use of their elite units and covering the gaps with whatever you can. They're a surprisingly scrappy race that offer a playstyle unlike any other. Plus, invest now because they should get a pretty nice makeover when Nagash drops later this year. After the Skaven, Tzeentch are another of the most devious races in the game, but the way they mess with others is a lot more direct. You have two lords to choose from and each plays pranks on everyone in their own way. You have Kairos who's collecting as many grimoires as he can, so he can utilise the changing of the ways to swap settlements around, prevent enemy movement, and all other kinds of wacky hijinks. Then you have the Changeling, who enables God Mode and No-Clip to destroy factions from within to enact all kinds of schemes to create chaos in the purest possible sense. In combat, Tzeentch are exceptionally tanky thanks to their magical barrier, giving them a secondary health bar that regenerates. With this, they have strong missile power along with excellent air superiority, and of course, plenty of monsters and magic. Tzeentch are a good race if you want to just mess around with all kinds of powerful tools that occasionally feel like console commands. They are a little bit jank here and there, but they can be loads of fun. The Vampire Coast are probably the most stylish race in the game because who doesn't want to cosplay as undead pirates? Their campaign revolves around powering up their legendary lords in the form of shipbuilding to essentially give them hordes, allowing full roster recruitment wherever they go. This, combined with the fact they can take normal settlements, which can be used entirely to print money, makes them insanely rich insanely quickly. With this wealth, they can fuel an endless torrent of armies and climb the infamy ladder to claim that legendary sea shanty in no time. In combat, the Vampirates are all about gunpowder, with an endless supply of missile units ready to tear enemies to pieces in seconds. We got handguns, long guns, bombs, little cannons, big cannons, and of course, Queen Bess. Along with all of that, you have plenty of monsters with a nautical twist, so it's good times all round. The Vampire Coast are a fun race if you really love the undead, but wish they had a stronger focus on missiles. If you focus entirely on shipbuilding and raiding the coastlines of the world, they're a ton of fun, and really feel like the horde that never was. Vampire Counts, my beloved. Their campaign is pretty simple. You have a pretty standard campaign and economy where you take settlements for more recruitment and wealth, just like anyone else. Whilst doing this, you are spreading vampiric corruption, which not only makes it damn hard for enemies to invade and maintain control, but also gives your armies bonus chance of units coming back post-battle. Speaking of which, you can also raise entirely new units from the dead, ranging from zombies all the way to endgame powerhouses. In battle, they are almost entirely focused on melee and want to sap enemy leadership with their army-wide fear and overwhelming pressure. The undead don't stop coming, and they have lots of infantry, monsters, and even cavalry to achieve this. They really are a race led by their lords, so expect them to put in a lot of work, no matter where you use them. The Vampire Counts may be lacking a lot of depth, but I still believe they're a great race for the simple fact that they raise the dead better than anyone else, and that mechanic alone makes them insanely powerful. If you're an undead fan, they're the first to do it and my all-time favourite. The Warriors of Chaos aren't that complicated a race, but they do have quite a lot going on that can make them seem that way. You have the Hunt for Dark Fortresses, which give them a base of operations to take control of their surroundings, whether that's through vassalizing the local population, or simply raising everything to ash. Their Gifts of Chaos give them lots of help in the form of various buffs, along with access to demonic units, so long as they continue to harvest enough souls to pay for them. And their recruitment and units upgrade system allows them to take their armies from basic marauders to fully fledged Chosen of Chaos in a single campaign. Their roster is gargantuan with heavy infantry, heavy cavalry, and more monsters than you can shake a stick at. You have all 4 branches of chaos with tons of unit variety, meaning opportunity for army building variety is unparalleled. The Warriors of Chaos really do feel like the apocalypse of the Warhammer world, and getting the chance to play as that is always going to be a blast. The Wood Elves truly are the sleeper world dominator of the Warhammer world. They may keep to their magical forest, but that isolation doesn't limit their power. They can teleport around the entire map, healing forests and gobbling up all kinds of buffs in the process. Their economy is also exceptionally powerful, with tons of opportunity for gold and all kinds of tradable goods, making them one of the richest races in the game. With this wealth, they can fund armies full of some of the most powerful skirmishes in the game, fast-moving high-damage infantry, and also some devastating cavalry and monsters. The Wood Elves offer a unique campaign unlike any other, and a power trip that is as intoxicating as it is unexpected. And if you instead want to know what mistakes to avoid when getting started with Warhammer 3, then check out this video for the top 10.